Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I'm so pleased that you're here with me, whether it's your first time or you're a regular. Please take a moment to share in the comments where you're from and what you love about the Akashic Records, because that's what this episode is all about. This is the second episode in this little mini series that I'm putting together about the Akashic Records, but most specifically, what you can do to become a really confident Akashic record reader for yourself or others, or of course, both. And since this is the second episode in this little mini series, I will link the prior episode below so that you can refer back to that if you wish. There's some great information in there, and I'm not repeating it from one to the next. So you'll definitely learn new things, and even in the beginning, some foundational information that I think is very important. And if you're new here, by way of background, my name's Holly Hawkins, and I'm an international Akashic record reader and teacher. And if you know me, you know that I'm over the moon about the Akashic Records as a really important tool that we can all access. Yes, we can all access it and use it to support our growth, our healing, our transformation, our deeper understanding of who we are, why we are, and how to support ourselves and wherever we wish to go. So currently I'm in my 16th year professionally working in the Akashic Records, and I've facilitated literally thousands of sessions with clients. I've taught many people to access and work in the Akashic Records, whether it was on their own or whether they were working professionally in the Akashic Records and creating a business out of it. And after all this time working in the records, there are some things, some patterns that I've noticed that really hold people back from the success. That success that they envision, that they desire, that they would love to experience when they're working in the Akashic Records. And the truth is, I don't want to see that, because when people hold themselves back or feel like they don't have what it takes, then their visions fall to the wayside, and I really don't want that for anybody. And I want to see people truly going for what they wish and what they would like to experience in this life. Because I believe that when someone has a dream and then they're not sure how to fulfill it, they might stop. But because they might doubt themselves, they might feel stuck, they might not ever pursue what actually was initially calling them. And because, as I've said, I don't want this to happen to you, this is the second episode in support of you becoming a phenomenal, outstanding, more than anything else, confident Akashic record reader. Again, whether it's for yourself or whether you're doing it for others, everything I'm saying applies in both circumstances. Now, I have broken this down into 2 episodes so that I could give myself enough time to explain each part of this that I want to share, and not just zip through it without giving you a little bit more understanding. In this episode, I've chosen 5 more of what I consider the top 10 things that you can do to become an outstanding Akashic record reader, and really deeply embodying confidence so that you want to dive deeper and uncover what is ready to be released, and to confidently go forth into the life that you've been dreaming about. I do encourage you to go back to my previous episode whenever you have a chance, so that you can listen to that foundational information that I mentioned before, to help you anchor that level of success in your work in the records as well. Okay, so with all that being said, let's dive into the next 5 important ideas, concepts, suggestions that I'd love for you to know to shorten your learning curve in working in the Akashic Records. So, number 1 in this set of 5, I know there were 5 before, so you could say this is number 6, but we're going to say number 1 for this episode. A very important energy that you will grow into is to embody a deep sense of trust. And I consider it vital for you to understand this when you're in the early stages of your Akashic Records journey, that you are building trust actually on multiple levels. And the early stages you're in working in the Akashic Records, you are building this level of trust. So what are those 3 levels? You're learning to trust the space of the Akash itself. You're learning to trust your guides, and you're also learning to trust in yourself. Now, I'm going to explain this. There are other levels that actually spill into these 3 basic levels of trust that you'll be cultivating in the early stages of working in the records. So let's break these down a bit. First of all, when you begin, you will be drawn to and excited about the potential of what you can do, what you can receive, what you can experience, how you can transform in the Akashic Record, but you haven't quite lived into it yet because you don't have that experience yet. So you haven't anchored your confidence with all of these simply because you haven't had the time and the experience yet. So, and this is fine, because if you realize that you might not have ever opened to this level of soul guidance on your own, this might even be the first lifetime, which is another episode unto itself, that you're learning to trust the space of the Akash. And what this means is that you're learning through direct experience, not because somebody told you about it, your experience, that the space of the Akash truly is love. It truly is compassion. It truly is understanding, kindness, gentleness, patience, all of that. You will be learning firsthand that you are positively supported and that there is more available to you there than you might have ever experienced so far in your everyday life. You're learning that the space of the Akashic Records can open up to you and open you to a new level of understanding about yourself, about your experiences, and a new way to trust in being yourself in the world, maybe in a way that you've never connected with before. The more you experience this, the more you trust the space of the Akash itself. Now, secondly, in your Akashic Records, you're working directly with your soul guidance team. I often just refer to them as your guides in short. And this is a brand new relationship for you. Now, they've always been guiding you. They've always been there. They know you very well, but you might never have consciously, intentionally started to work with them before now. So it's a new relationship on your part. Now, if you translate this idea of a brand new relationship to your human relationships, if you just met somebody, you wouldn't necessarily immediately trust them, would you? You'd get to know them. You might say, I like them. I'd like to get to know them more. And then as the relationship develops, your trust will develop. And it happens over time. It happens with experience. And it happens as your connection goes deeper. This means the same in your relationship with your soul guidance team in the Akashic Records. These early experiences in your Akashic Records, you are learning to trust your guides. And you're learning to trust how to work together, understand each other just as you do with your human relationships. This develops and deepens over time. And so the third way that we're going to look at trust in your Akashic Records is that you actually are learning to trust yourself and your relationship to both yourself and the guides. And what I mean by this is you're learning how to trust the way you're receiving in the Akashic Records. And I did touch a bit about that on the last episode, but you're also learning how you can best ask your questions in the records. You're learning to trust your growing ability to go ever deeper in the Akashic Records, because as you spend more time there, you do learn to go deeper, ask questions in a different way, and kind of super sleuth your way through what it is. And that happens more easily as you deepen your relationship. So the energy of trust is a very important energy that you're learning to anchor into your practice from the beginning. It really is the foundation of everything. So please take your time and understand that this energy will grow. It makes sense you aren't fully feeling it from the beginning. Trust in every single aspect of our life takes time. And it does absolutely in the Akashic Records as well. You'll get there. And as I mentioned in my prior episode, as you practice, as you spend time in the records, your trust will automatically, it will naturally grow. You don't need to worry about that. But what I found over the years is when I've explained to my students when they're first learning, look, it's okay to not fully relax and trust that all this experience right away. You'll grow in that. That helped them relax and feel more confident early on, which is why it's number one in this episode. Okay, so the second thing, number two, is as we work in the records, we're learning to shift our focus from what's wrong to what's right. Now, so this one can be a bit tricky, so bear with me on this one. So in our human lives, it's perfectly fine to feel uncomfortable. And it's okay to feel like something doesn't feel right and that we want things to change and feel better so that we feel just better about life and ourselves. Those feelings of discomfort we have in our human life are really essential to seek out ways to feel better, to release what no longer is serving us now, and to look for new solutions to improve our lives. In our human lives, we do feel what's wrong and choose to change those circumstances. Now, when we open up our records, we truly are looking for solutions to what's wrong. That oftentimes motivates us even opening our records, something that feels uncomfortable. We look for the reason why something happened, what happened, maybe who was involved, and many more details like that to help us understand what we're feeling and to resolve any discomfort, to break patterns and feel amazing moving forward without those negative feelings and negative experiences. However, the key here to doing this deep work in the Akashic Records is to understand that when and where these patterns started, they began for a very good reason. Okay, I'm going to just let that sink in for a moment. Wherever the patterns are that you're not comfortable with, that you hate, and you think are the bane of your existence, at the point of inception, whenever it began, whether it was a week ago, earlier in this life, or many lifetimes ago, their point at the beginning makes sense. It was a good reason. The pattern that started made sense and was actually the best idea or the best response we could have had at that time. Now, you may not be experiencing this as a good thing right now, which is why you want to transform it. But when we explore the Akashic Records for understanding and for energetic change, we can just open our awareness to the idea that at the time it was great. At the time, it was the best that we could do. At the time, we didn't have another way to be, think, or feel. Okay, now this doesn't mean that it wasn't a bad idea, response, or pattern at the time. Again, I've already said this, we were making our best decision. And sometimes it could have been conscious, and sometimes these patterns start very unconsciously. We were connected with our truth. We were taking good care of ourselves, showing up for ourselves to the very best of our ability at that time. So again, when we're doing the work in the Akashic Records, we can recognize that there's something that made it good or right or even perfect at that time and place based on those circumstances that made it the best decision, choice, or belief. Even if today we wouldn't make this decision. Time's gone by. We've changed. We've grown. We've transformed. So it's like trying to put on a pair of clothes that we tried to wear as a child. They're not going to fit anymore. So of course they feel uncomfortable. And it's that same kind of deal with these old patterns. Doesn't mean those clothes didn't fit at the right time and age when you wore them. They're just not going to feel comfortable to fit into them now. That's the same idea that we're breaking through. Okay. So at the beginning of this section, what I said was this, that when we can look for what's right about it, then we can open up more easily to find the transformation. We can ignite our curiosity even about what was right about it at the time. We can open up to who we were at that time, what we believed, and discover our motivation or our why about our choices or our beliefs, and bring that compassion, that understanding, that grace, if you will, to the experience. And as we do this, we are literally transforming these energies that we've been carrying along with us. We're transforming them with compassion that comes from understanding what happened in that moment. In that moment. Now we've changed. We're not feeling the pattern fitting anymore, but we get to understand why. And in doing this, we can begin to soften and release the judgment and the discomfort of what we're experiencing now. We can open up to recognizing what was right about it, and know that the beliefs and patterns that initiated at that time can be released. They can be transformed through our compassionate understanding and acceptance that we are currently in a different place. Now, there's a lot more to this one part. In fact, I could do a whole solo episode on it, to be honest. But I want you to just be invited into the space that you can open up to discover what's right about every single moment, even if it's uncomfortable, and see what can transform as a result. Okay. Now, the third thing I'd like to bring up for this episode is that every Akashic record reading, every session, is actually a co-creation or a collaboration. So in our Akashic records, when we go in there, we are not going in there to a source that is outside of ourselves, that we are literally handing our power over to. Our guides in our Akashic records are not there to tell us what we must do and what we shouldn't do. They're not going to tell us when to do it, where to do it, and how to do it. They are literally guides. So one of the really important energies in the Akashic records is this idea of free will. We came here to have free will to create our life, the experiences we have each and every step of our journey, which means we are not opening up into the Akashic records hoping that someone else, our guides, tell us what to do. We're not abdicating our free will that way. We are co-creating. So when we're in our own records, we are co-creating with our guides. When we're in someone else's records, it really is a three-way collaboration or co-creation between whoever's records are open, you as the reader, and their guides. So I consider the Akashic records an intersectional place of our humanness and our free will, our guides' loving presence, and our soul's intentions. Our free will is always intact and of prime importance. And in our exploration in the Akashic records, we're opening up to possibilities, opportunities, potentials and experiences that we might not consciously know right now. We might not understand yet in our human awareness, but we always have a choice. And choice and free will go hand in hand, don't they? So this also shows up collaboratively with our soul guidance team as we receive what they're sharing with us. And we can feel how that aligns with our next steps or what even feels doable. And people always think this is funny, but we can actually negotiate with our soul guidance team to find an outstanding outcome that resonates with where we are right now. And we feel like I could do that right now and what their guidance is. So we're not, again, abdicating our authority over to an outside source. That's counter to the time we're in and the work in the Akashic Records. We're always empowered in our own truth. Ultimately, our Akashic Records are here to support our deeper natural understanding of ourselves that allow us to live aligned with our soul level truth, intuitively and instinctively. And we have some soul level collaborators, our Akashic Records and our soul guidance team, to support us in growing into that deep intuitive connection. So number 4, there's a very common thing that happens with people early on in the records, and they would say, I don't feel like I'm getting anything. So I really want to address this. And this does tie in with how we receive in the Akashic Records, which I did talk about in the first episode of this little mini series. So let's talk about this a little bit more, take it a little deeper. In the early stages of your journey into the Akashic Records, it's not uncommon to feel like you're not getting anything. Now, I've heard this from my students so often, so often. And of course, there can be many reasons for this. And as I said, I covered some of this in the last episode. But I want to start here to go even deeper because I want to bring to presence that we have very strongly cultivated minds, right? We really do. And in our society these days, that's what we do through our educational system. We really elevate and cultivate our mind very, very strongly. And so we want to honor that level of training that's in our life these days. Now, but in the Akashic Records, we're not only processing via our mind. We're doing more than that. But because we're also processing through our awareness and our energetic field. So there are times when we might feel that we're not receiving anything. We want to learn how to quiet down our very highly developed, very strong minds in how it expects to receive information. We need to understand that the mind will continue to try to be in full control in the early stages of our work in the Akashic Records, but it doesn't always have to be that way. So what I've found that works wonders is to bring in the idea, this probably will surprise you, of pretending or imagining. So let me explain what I mean by this. If you ever have opened the records and you feel stuck, like I'm really not getting anywhere, I don't feel like I'm receiving anything, you can say to yourself while you're in the records, if I were to pretend that I was getting something right now, it would be blank, and just open up to whatever's there. If I were to pretend I was getting something, it would be this. And just be open that way. Or alternatively, if you're not comfortable with the word pretend, you can say, if I were to imagine I was getting something right now based on what I'm exploring in the Akashic Records, it would be this. if I were to imagine I was receiving something right now, it would be this. Now, I know this may sound really funny to you because the imagining and pretending thing we often talk about related to childhood and like, oh, when you're in the pretend stage. I watch my grandchildren be very imaginative and pretend all the time, but that kind of gets discounted as we get older. But the reality is, when we think about being a young child, our energy field was very open, wasn't it? Our mind wasn't so strongly developed. So it actually is a very good energy to bring into an Akashic record reading. Because I believe that you're actually not pretending. You're not imagining. Okay? Now, let me back up a second. If you don't really love the word imagine or don't really love the word pretend, but you get the idea of what we're talking about, you can play with whatever wording you like, look up synonyms for those words if you like. But what these phrases do is settle or quiet that strongly cultivated academic mind that we all have. And when you say either one or both of these phrases, and then just allow and trust whatever comes up, you open actually to what's truly there. So in a sense, your mind is saying, oh, yeah, they're just pretending now, or they're just imagining. I can relax, I can settle down and let them do that. So it just settles the mind to allow more of what's already coming in to be available for you. So if you try this out, I'd love to hear how it goes for you. When I've offered this up as a suggestion to people, students working in the records who say they're getting stuck with that, it's really helped them get over that hump. Now, once you get comfortable with that, you won't always need to say it and you won't get stuck as much. This is a really good method to use when you're in those early stages and learning to feel confident in how you receive and work with the guides. All right, so number 5, here we are. I'm going to invite you to open to the idea that it's okay to start where you are and let yourself grow. Okay, and this, I like to bring this in now because we often have very high expectations of ourselves and we can be very hard on ourselves. We know what's possible and we want it there in an instant. But I want to encourage you to understand that it's okay to be in an early stage. It's okay to be a beginner. It's okay to know that what you know now is okay in the Akashic Records, and have that faith and trust in yourself that you can grow into more as you learn, as you experience even more in the records. Even if you have big dreams, please keep them alive while you're in these early stages. Be so gentle and kind and loving to yourself as you're flapping your Akashic wings and getting ready to fly with them. You will grow. You will expand. You will learn your way to feeling confident in the Akashic Records, one step at a time, one question at a time, one experience at a time. I feel this suggestion really embodies the foundational energies of the Akash that I spoke about in the first episode, those energies of gentleness, compassion, kindness, and understanding, patience. We want to live in that field and especially extend it to ourselves. So if you trust yourself in your desire to explore this sacred dimension and understand it's your absolute birthright to know yourself at this level, then you can compassionately let yourself start where you are right now, holding the confidence in your innate ability to know yourself as a great being of light, a soul having a human experience, and you can extend the same loving kindness that's available to ourselves that we're immersed in every time we're in the Akashic Records. So what of these five suggestions really resonates with you the most? or that you feel like you'd like to try to bring into the Akashic Records right away. I'd love to hear in the comments. And now, before you go, first of all, I appreciate your time and your interest and your curiosity in the Akashic Records, and also knowing something that could help you shorten your learning curve. But before you go, I do have a special invitation for you. Coming up shortly is the second annual Awakening Conference. It's a weekend of master classes, and this amazing masterclass weekend is being facilitated by all the hosts on Awakening Airwaves and Reiki Radio podcast. During this weekend, you're invited to attend 9 master classes online that will be there in support of your path and deepen your understanding as a practitioner of the energetic arts. During this live 3-day event, you'll have the opportunity to learn from renowned experts in the fields of Reiki, the Akashic Records, astrology, tarot and oracle, and other energetic arts. All of the facilitators bring a wealth of knowledge and experience to the table, providing you with valuable insights and techniques to enhance your practice and guide you through powerful exercises. Get ready to expand your knowledge, taking your process of awakening and energy practice to the next level. The link to find out more and to register is in the description below. And whether you're a seasoned practitioner or just starting out on your journey, these master classes will provide you with valuable tools and insights to help you deepen your connection, lift your frequency, and unlock more of your true potential. And also, there is an option to register for an all-access pass. And when you register for the all-access pass, you'll be able to join all the live classes from September 18th to the 20th. You'll get access to recordings of all the master classes after the weekend of the events has concluded. And as a bonus, you're going to access the recordings from last year's event, which means you're going to have access to a total of 18 master classes. So if you'd like to find out more about my offerings and suggestions also, you can find the links to those in the show description below as well. Thank you so much. I wish you all the best. Much love to you all.